What a way to end 2025 as the Bucks drop an extremely disappointing game to the Washington Wizards. We go over the autopsy coming up next on Locked On Bucks.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Bucks. My name is Justin Garcia, joined as always by Camille Davis. We thank you for making this your first listen of the day, each and every day, and for helping make the Locked On Podcast Network the number one sports podcasting network in the industry. Also wish a very happy new year to everyone out there that's joining us now on January 1st. It is a 2025 that I think we are very eager to put behind us, and that was accentuated last night, Camille, a New Year's Eve showdown with the Washington Wizards. It was a prime opportunity to finally grab a win streak this season and continue to get right if you're the Bucks. We talked about this a couple of shows ago that, look, if you win, I understand there's a lot of differences, and it's not apples to apples, but you're a game off the pace of the Indiana Pacers from a year ago, who went on to win the Eastern Conference. Neither of us strongly entertained, which shame on us, the Bucks losing this game because, hey, they look better. Giannis is back. They finally won back-to-back games. They're starting to build some momentum. And then last night happens. And they look good for about, 6-7 minutes to start the game. Never again from there. It was a close game. Candidly, we will oftentimes kind of spot check during games, during breaks, and say, what do you feel about this one? Myself and Dave. And I think it was maybe halftime or the first break in the third quarter, and he I think we'll pull it out. And that was when it was still in that 7-8 point range, the two teams going back and forth. I just never had that feel, really, from the midpoint of the first quarter on, of oh, God. This is one of these that they're just going to give away, isn't it? And that's ultimately what we saw. We can get to the execution down the stretch, which, again, that would be on the Bucks Spotify Wrapped list of 2025 is late game execution. Foiled again. But this one, in a nutshell, just kind of sums up these first, what are they now, 34, 35 games.
Jeez, man. Over a third in the season, and the Bucks continue to look like the team that we saw against Washington last night, which is the most disappointing part of it all. It felt like what we were hearing from the team about understanding where they were in the standings. Hey, we have Giannis back. Hey, we have to treat every game. We have to fight. I was talking about yesterday, the Black Air Force energy, being the villain, the dunks at the end of games, saying, we don't care. We got to play to the end of the whistle. All that energy evaporated. It evaporated. That was not the team that we saw on the court against the Wizards. And it was so disappointing. It was so frustrating watching them play in this game because you could see the levels of just people not closing out. People were getting beat off the dribble continuously in this game against the Wizards. It all felt like it was too easy for Washington throughout this game. And given all the lip service that we heard from this Bucks team, I expected a lot more. And to hear after the game, Doc Rivers talking about, during shoot around, I could tell the energy wasn't right then. And I knew things weren't going to be right. And I was hoping maybe we could pull it off, have an ugly win and learn from the ugly win. I too would have loved to learn from an ugly win. But ultimately, it's another loss. The Wizards have won 8 games all year, and 2 of those wins are against the Bucks. 2 of those wins are against the Bucks. 25% of the Wizards' wins are against the Milwaukee Bucks. That is just not acceptable for where this team is looking to go, especially with where they currently are. I expected so much more from them. And maybe that's my own fault, Justin. Maybe that's my own fault for expecting more and believing the lip service without seeing enough proof of concept on the court.
You don't learn from ugly wins. At least this team doesn't. We've seen enough 34, whatever it is, games in to know. It's all well and good to say that after the fact, but what are you proactively doing to prevent that is, I think, the bigger question. And December starts or ends the way it started, with CJ McCollum ripping your heart out when you thought maybe, just maybe, we can start to build some momentum now. Like, remember, the December 1st game in DC came after, at the time, the Bucks' biggest win in terms of margin of victory of the season, when they beat the Brooklyn Nets, and felt like, okay, now we're going to start to do some things, that we're going to start to peel off some wins here and build some momentum with this group. And then the Washington Wizards game happens, and CJ McCollum, you got Giannis back, I should say. So the lead up was, you were competitive with Miami in the play-in tournament game, in the play-in tournament. I wish, right? In the NBA Cup game, you were somewhat competitive until the very closing minutes against the Knicks, but Giannis made his return in that game. Then you thumped the Nets and thought, okay, now we got our group back. We got the Wizards on the schedule. We got a chance to do something against the Pistons. Like, here's our takeoff point. And you just laid an egg, and CJ McCollum hit that late three to beat you. And Marvin Bagley III had one of the best games of his career, but it was McCollum's three-pointer that basically sealed the game in DC. And it's CJ McCollum's game winner tonight, or last night, that seals things here in Milwaukee and sends the Bucks to 14-20 on the season. I mean, the mental gymnastics that we have tried to do for 30-plus games to say, okay, now if this happens, and then you can start to do this, and maybe these teams do that. It's January 1st. It's not like, oh, this was a really tough 3 weeks, and all right, it's mid-December and early December. They're starting to figure it out. You got plenty of time. Yeah, there's still time left. There's still more than half the season left, but this has been the trend. This is what we've seen, by and large, from this team this season. I mean, the fact that they have won consecutive games 3 times this season, and 2 of those came in October that it happened. I mean, at some point, you're being given the answer of what this team is, and for us to kind of fight it and continue to be the optimists and say, well, wait a minute, maybe this can happen, it's starting to become a fool's errand.
Yeah. Yeah. At this point, this just feels like who the Bucks are. Like, the Bucks feel like a below 500 team at this point. Like, that is what they seem to be. And even just watching the game, the part that's even more frustrating for me watching this team right now play, it's just like,
is that you don't get paid to do it.
I mean, yeah, but it's like you see them play right, and then it's like they just completely stop doing it for whatever the reason might be. The ball stops moving. You see guys going ISO heavy. You see guys are on defense. That's the part for me where it's like, I can understand sometimes the process leads to a result that you're not looking for. Like, hey, that was a good shot, but it didn't fall, and you live with that and you continue playing. But on defense, like, you just got to play defense. And that's the area for me where it was just like, how is Bob Carrington? You've seen him already knock down 2 threes here in the fourth quarter. Like, you see him getting hot. How does he continue to hit 2 more? Like, why are they so open? What is going on with the rotations? Even just the effort on the glass. Like, that's been an area for the Bucks all season where it's been like, hey, just end the possession, get the rebound. And it's too many times where you don't see guys putting bodies on someone. They're not boxing out. They're not chasing the long boards. It's like they're loafing around. Like, where is the energy? Where is the desperation that this team is supposed to have when you are on the outside of the play-in picture? Outside the play-in picture in the end of December. And that urgency doesn't seem to be there on a consistent enough basis for this team. Like, the Washington Wizards aren't even known for being this season like a great offensive rebounding team. They're not, that's not what they do generally. And still they were hitting the glass. They were, I don't know, Justin. I didn't want to start 2026 off this way, but like, the Bucks are forcing the hand to start it this way because we can only go off what we've seen.
Yeah, they were 21st in offensive rebounding rate coming into the game. They did they were close to the bottom 10 in turnover rate. So I think there's a couple areas that we'll break down some pieces of the game in this. I mean, disappointment is even an understatement with it, but we'll get to some of the late game execution in the areas where it really went wrong coming up after this on Locked On Bucks. Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel's making them even better. Every Friday night before the game tips off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited-time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern have become appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. Opening the FanDuel app during Happy Hour always brings you something new, whether it be boosts, bonuses, or surprises. It's easy to check the weekly special before tip-off and make a move before the window closes. It's the perfect timing to get in there before the games and right before the season starts. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. The Friday NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sports book partner of the NBA. So where did this all start to unravel here, Camille? Turnovers, like I said, the Wizards are not a good team in protecting the ball, and that felt like this is something where the Bucks can have an advantage, not only because of the opponent, but because of the last couple of games when they got back to full strength now. And that's the other disheartening part of this that we didn't even mention. They were full strength, for all intents and purposes. I think you have to assume Taurean Prince is not playing again this season. So that was it, right? They were full strength, and this happened. But when Giannis returned, they were a little more active defensively in terms of like playing the passing lanes with Kevin Porter Jr. and Ryan Rollins, because you have Giannis and Miles Turner there to help clean it up. So you looked at it and thought, okay, they're going to be able to get some turnovers and score off of those turnovers. Their fast break points and points off of turnovers both went up in those previous two games. And tonight they scored 5 fast break points to 17 from the Wizards. But the Wizards in this one were, +9. It started to even out on 3-point shooting. But still, the Wizards matched their season high with 19 made threes. And up until the final 3 minutes of the game, they were shooting better than 50% on threes. They were +19 in points scored off of turnovers. 15 Bucks turnovers. Wizards scored 23 points off of those. Just 10 that you forced, and you only scored 4 off of them. And I know people have pushed back and feel like we're too critical of Kevin Porter Jr. In that regard. He had 3 tonight. Ryan Rollins had 3. Kyle Kuzma had 3. Giannis had 6.
Yep.
And a lot of those were really bad turnovers.
They were really bad. And we've heard this team also talk about the need to maintain composure when the game is not going their way as well. There were a few times when the guys went to the hoop and I was like, oh, that's a foul. And nothing's called. And you see just how agitated they were getting. Like when Bobby punched the station.
To be fair, there were some really bad ones.
They were
the
really
Bobby
bad
one.
ones.
How do you miss that?
He
front
got
of you?
smacked on his arm.
And Bobby's reaction too. And by the way, Bob Carrington with a very veteran move to try and really sell it and get the flop.
Bobby barely touched him. That man put his hands up, fell out. And I was like, all right, man. But that's something that we've talked about with this team before, where sometimes the foul calls haven't come. Even when Ryan Rollins during the stretch where it was really just him out there with no Kevin Porter Jr., no Giannis. And it was like, man, he's just not getting to the free throw line. He's going through all this contact, but he's not getting to the free throw line. You could see that in this game too, and not just Ryan, but everyone. You saw it with Giannis, you saw it with Bobby, you saw it with Kevin, you saw it with Kyle, you saw everybody just reacting to the referees and not getting back. So to your point too, just about the turnovers, things would happen and guys ain't hustling back. They're kind of looking at it and they're stuck on that one play. And it's you got to have a very quick memory and continue to move on to try to save that. When you see teams turn the ball over and then the guy who committed the turn was the first one hustling back, it's okay, that's what you need to see. You got to let that go real quick, get back into the play. Too often, I think for this Bucks team, they get into their own, the emotions get really big for this Bucks team. And when the emotions get big, it tends to affect the rest of their play. When I was watching the game live, it felt like the Wizards had a advantage in points off of turnovers, but when the game ended and I actually looked and saw what the actual spread was, given the fact that the Bucks had 5 more turnovers than the Wizards, but the Wizards scored 23 points off of those 15 Bucks turnovers. Meanwhile, the Bucks only got 4 points off of the 10 turnovers from the Wizards. It's just, I don't know, Justin, like even after the game, hearing the conversation from the locker room, like I don't know. I shouldn't say I don't know what the ceiling of this group is, because I think when they play right, we've seen what they can do. But the fact of the matter is that they just don't consistently play well.
Yeah. Yeah, when they play right is few and far between, though, that I think we kind of do know what the ceiling of this team is, unfortunately. And, the turnovers and points off of turnovers were big, but also credit to a couple of Wizards who were huge tonight. Bub Carrington, 6 made threes, 6 of 11. And he's actually shooting better than 40% on threes this season, but it's a very
why he kept being open. Like, what's the scouting report here?
A very low volume of attempts per game, however. But 6 made threes from Bub Carrington. CJ McCollum, hit the biggest shot of the game. We'll get to in a second. But Justin Champagne's defense in this one, and just his being active, right? Like that was the thing. When you watch these two teams, one team was more active and the aggressor on both ends of the floor, and that was the Wizards. It was, the first 6 minutes that we talked about, the Bucks were aggressive, and I think Wizards picked up 4 fouls in that stretch. They were all on the same play. 3 of them were against Giannis. 1 was against Ryan Rollins, where the Bucks are just get in the paint and attack, and the Wizards were fouling, and then that just disappeared. And then the Wizards were the team that was doing it, and the Bucks couldn't stop the ball up until midway through the third quarter, when they finally then went to a 2-3 zone, and it worked. I tracked it as it was happening. It was 15 possessions that they ran on. The Wizards scored 9 points, and 2 of those came on an offensive rebound putback. But, 0.6 points per possession, pretty great, right? That's how they got back into the game from down 7 to taking the lead. But look, you can't play a zone for the entire game. It's not college. And eventually guys, and you could see Chris Middleton too kind of being the one to say, no, guys, get to the free throw line. Let's get to the middle to try and bust this zone. He had some looks that he just didn't hit, but eventually the Bucks had to go away from it. And when they did, they just, again, couldn't stop the ball and keep the ball handler in front of them. Alex Sarr was huge tonight. And when we talk about the late game execution, so let's just start with the final 33 seconds here. Chris Middleton fouls Giannis, who sinks both free throws. It's after Trey Johnson misses a shot. Giannis gets the rebound. Chris Middleton fouls him. And I was trying to figure out, and we talked about it on the game broadcast too, like, was this the intention? Like, are they trying to immediately put Giannis at the line with this much time left? Like, you could still play defense. And even worst case scenario, it's a 4-point game, but you could play defense and say, well, if it's a 3-point game, we can tie it. And it seemed like Chris was kind of upset with himself, that I took it as he thought they had a foul to give. So Giannis hits both free throws. And that's when, at that point, like, okay, I was wrong. They're going to win this game. And then their strategy was, look, we're not going to give up a 3. If they want to get a 2, fine. We're not giving up a 3 here. We're not going to foul them, which I don't disagree with in that setting. What I do disagree with is how we got there. And it seemed like it was just way too easy. It didn't seem like it was. It was what, 2-3 seconds that came off the clock for CJ McCollum to get that quick 2. And from that point forward, you're basically right back in the same spot where now the Wizards can say, okay, we can play defense. And that ultimately is up there with what cost the Bucks this game. If you played any semblance of defense on that possession, and instead of 33.2 seconds were on the clock, when CJ McCollum scored, there's 30.2. So 3 seconds came off the clock. If you make that 7 seconds at least, and now all of a sudden we're down to 26, then it's like, we're gonna have to foul immediately, and this is really not looking good. So it's just the little things like that they haven't done all season long. There's obviously an even bigger component to it in those final 30 seconds. I want to get your take on that CJ McCollum basket as well. So we'll get to that and just the ultimate unraveling in these final 30 seconds of the game coming up after this on Locked On Bucks. Time to talk to you about our friends over at Game Time. Here's during basketball season, there's nothing quite like being in the building. The energy, the crowd, the first big run that gets everyone on their feet. Fans want to be there for those moments, not stuck refreshing screens or guessing what tickets are really going to cost. That's where Game Time comes in. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage back, making it incredibly easy to score amazing tickets, fast and simple, without the guesswork. You can browse the app. It's straightforward and intuitive. You find tickets in just a few taps and seconds. See a view from your seat before you make those purchases to give you that confidence and that seat view as well, especially key in those venues you haven't been to before. The prices will include the fees up front, so it's total clear at the checkout. No sticker shock and surprise fees there. And Zone Deal help you unlock great seats at even better value. So whether it's an NBA game or another live event, everything is right there in one place. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA. That is LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today and get in on the action. So that CJ McCollum basket, Camille, CJ McCollum goes on to score the final 4 points of this game. What did you think when you saw that happen in real time?
Even before the last 30 seconds, the last minute of that game, it was just an emotional roller coaster.
Yes.
It felt like the Bucks had the momentum there. Like when Miles Turner blocked Sarr at the rim.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, the Bucks are going
to,
that's a swing momentum swing play. Like the Bucks are going to do something with this. And AJ Green had that open 3 attempt.
Well, Alex Sarr then turned it around and blocked Giannis, I think.
That's right.
And Miles Turner gets it back.
That's right. And it popped back out to AJ Green. And I think those are the best 3-point attempts normally. Like off an offensive rebound, reload. And when he missed it, I was like, I said out loud because I was still at home by myself waiting for like my husband to get back and my friends to come over. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, Fiserv the roof would have flown off the place had he made that particular 3 and made that a 4-point game for the Bucks, but didn't happen in that moment. You get down to the end of the game as you were just laying out with CJ getting that rebound off of the block shot from Sarr blocking Giannis at the rim. CJ takes off. And when I saw who was back in defense, I was like, okay, this could be a little tricky. But I thought AJ was actually there. Like the defense was actually pretty decent. It was just that CJ McCollum hit a CJ McCollum shot. As soon as he went up for it, what I actually said was, is Urkel going to turn into Stefan in the moment? Because he looks so much like Jaleel White to me. So I'm always calling CJ McCollum Jaleel White. And when he made it, I said, oh my God, I was like, Stefan done did it to us. He done did it to us in this game. Bucks have a timeout, only a second left. And I'm like, well, at least it's not a situation where you have to rush the shot. You can get off a shot in a second. Yeah. And the shot that Giannis took, very similar to like the fading, mid-range shot that he took to win the game against the Pacers earlier this season. It's a shot we've seen him take, although not as frequently this season as we saw last season in that mid-range area, but it was long and it was kind of like,
it was a good look. It just, like the Wizards were, and I'm assuming too, you have Chris on the floor telling you like, this is what we liked to do. So they're going to try to get Giannis going to the rim. I was a little surprised. Like Kyle Kuzma was the trigger man. I was a little surprised you didn't have Miles Turner out there for another body, and maybe Giannis is the decoy and just lob it to Miles Turner near the rim. But so the last couple of sequences, not to gloss over it, when CJ McCollum gets that layup and then the Bucks go back into attacking. So you have 30 seconds left at that point. KPJ went somewhat early-ish, but you get the rebound on that. and there's 10 seconds left.
Just
When Giannis gets the rebound, all of this is easier said than done. And it's Giannis in the paint at the rim, right? So who's going to say, don't shoot that, Giannis? But there's 10 seconds left, and the shot clock resets to 14.
Mm-hmm. And you're up by one.
You don't have to score. They have to follow you and get the ball back. And Alex Sarr, I mean, 99, 98 times out of 100, Giannis is going to complete that dunk, but Alex Sarr with a huge play to block him. I hesitate to even say, like, hey, Giannis, hang on to the ball and kick it out, because it's Giannis and you're at the rim. It's just kind of telling all the things that went the way of the Wizards down the stretch and how they just continue to push through it and execute. And, to your point, too, when you saw what was unfolding and, they get the block, they get the ball back, they get in the hands of CJ McCollum, and off he goes. And you immediately look on the other end and see there's AJ Green there. Yeah. I mean, even if it's someone else, right? Even if it's Giannis, whoever it is, pick your best individual defender. You're in scramble mode. Yeah. And the other team, and the other team is in transition. That you immediately got that feeling of, this is going in, or he's going to attack the rim, and this is going to be a foul, and this is how the Bucks lose the game. And that's what happened. We didn't hear a whole lot. I haven't had a chance to go back and listen to it in real time, or the reposting that the Bucks had, and there were some technical issues after the game. So we got Doc midway through his post-game commentary, but you heard enough to hear his tone, and we touched on that at the start of the show, that it was a very, very, it was as upset as I've heard Doc Rivers so far this season, and just talked about not only the late game execution, but just overall the way the team played for the final basically 40 minutes of the game, and everything that we've highlighted, that's what's ultimately brought us here, where it's not 2-8, right? It's 14-20. And there's a big difference there, that it's been more pockets of this that you've sustained. It wasn't just one bad stretch. This has been 2 bad months that we've seen from this group. That's why it might sound like being a downer here, but as much as we preach about stats and numbers mattering, and look at the numbers, what the numbers are telling you 34 games into the season is not good, and it's not matching what our expectations were coming into the season, and it doesn't match anybody that still has the, win 4 in a row and you can do this, and then other teams will lose, and like they can still be a play-in tournament team. I'm not saying they can't be a play-in tournament team, but at 34 games in, and the way this team has played through those 34 games, I do think we know the ceiling is probably an 8 seed right now.
Yeah, that's what they've shown us. Like, we can only go off of what has been shown. And when you lose games and you have the same execution problems game after game after game after game, it's no longer a thing of like, well, hey, maybe it's not actually what we think it is. Like, we're seeing it. We're seeing it. The formula is the same in almost every single Bucks loss that we have seen this year. And now we talked so much about the December schedule and how it was an opportunity for this Bucks team to try to make up some ground. Not enough ground was made up at the end of December for this team. You have the Hornets at home.
None.
Right. You have the Hornets at home on Friday before you leave for the 4-game Western Conference road trip. And again, they're a winnable game. They're winnable games. What's in front of the Bucks are winnable games for them. But are they going to be able to execute at the level they need to? Are they going to be able to focus? Are they going to be able to do the things that they shown us in the year of 2025 they could not do on a consistent basis? Are they going to be able to do it at this point? I have no idea. Like, I'm leaning more so towards the no, this is who they are, than like they can still turn this around. Not having a win streak the entire first 34 games of the year is disappointing. That's something that you don't generally hear from teams with playoff aspirations. That's something that you hear from teams that are looking on to the draft in the following year. That is so disheartening. Not one 3-game win streak through the first 34, 35 games. All right. If you can turn it around in 2026, I'd be quite surprised at this point based on what we've seen so far from this team.
I mean, look, maybe they win in Charlotte, they win the first 2 of the road trip, and then we're talking ourselves into
into it.
Well, it's 4 out of 5 that they've won and they've done this. But the fact of the matter is, I'm getting sick of saying these are winnable games and then seeing the results that ensue. And you like winning 4 out of 5 is simply not enough. Like at this point, the team needs to win. Like how they close the season, that's what we're going to need. Just get back into the mix to say, okay, now maybe we have a chance to be in that next mix. If they drop the game to the Charlotte Hornets, not to get too bleak here, but Camille made his return.
Mm-hmm.
Those have all been heavily contested games. You lost the one game, you won another game technically by 13, but it took overtime to get there. And then the win that you had this week, it has not been easy to put away the Charlotte Hornets. And now all of a sudden, if you lose that game, you're 14-21 and they're 12-22. Yeah, I mean, both the Hornets and Nets are within striking distance of you. That is, we've continued to dance around this and mention like, well, you could run the risk of wrapping up this trip and then all of a sudden you're at the 3rd worst record in the conference. It's there. It's present. Like you've had every opportunity to continue to push beyond that. When you look at what every other team in this conference is doing, the Hawks were on a 7-game losing streak. They've won 2 of their last 10. Cavs have been 500 most of the season in their last 10. Miami's won 4 of their last 10. Toronto, Orlando, Philly have won 5-5 in their last 10.
Mm-hmm.
Like all these teams are begging someone to do something, and that's what makes this even more disheartening than anything.
Yeah, and the Bucks are also in that group now of like, hey, can someone do something at this point? I think one thing I'll say as we get ready to wrap here.
Are you ready to wrap? You want to keep going?
Boy, let me tell you something. No, seriously, the bad teams in the league, right? Which there are bad teams in the league, quote unquote, when you look at the record and point to them. One thing I will say about the bad teams is that in the NBA as it's currently constructed, I think if you don't come out and you have the right effort and right focus and execution, those bad teams can beat you on any given night.
Are you trying to imply you can control your effort?
I sure am, Justin. Sure am. And if you come out and overlook these bad teams, I think the bad teams are good enough to make you pay for that. Now, the problem here that I feel with the Bucks is like, the Bucks, they're closer to being one of the bad teams in the league than they are to being a good team.
No, they're not closer. They have the 10th worst record in the league.
Say that one more time, Justin.
Yeah, they're the 10th worst record in the league. They are a bottom 10 team.
And my point to that is good teams can't overlook the bad ones because these things can happen. If you are where the Bucks are right now, the fact that we get this effort again against the Wizards team, as I mentioned, 2 of their 8 wins have come against you. I thought they were going to come out wanting that get back after losing to Washington before the way they did. And it did not happen that way. Like, that's the most disappointing thing of it all. Yeah. And I mentioned it before. I said, if you look at Bucks coaching in-season coaching firing history, mid to late January is normally when they have pulled that trigger with the last couple of coaches here. We'll see what that looks like for Doc. And the reason I say that is because I'm just tired of hearing everything from everybody on this team. I am tired of hearing Doc saying it starts with me. My guys weren't ready. I got to get them ready. I'm tired of hearing the players say, well, we know what we didn't do. We just need to do it better. Because at some point, like the lip service, it means nothing until I see it executed. And at this point, starting New Year fresh, like, I no longer can believe in what the words say. Like, they got to put it on the court, and I haven't seen a big enough body of work from this Bucks team to have confidence that they are actually going to turn around with who they have on the roster. And I honestly don't know if any splash trades, quote unquote,
what splash trade
can even fix it. Like, I don't think that any of the names I have heard being thrown around,
none of those names are splash trades.
No,
none
it's
of those
not
names
going to
fix
help
this.
this team. It's not going to help.
Yeah. As we wrap here, I'll give you. We'll keep it positive, right? I just ran the 2020 draft lottery simulator on Tankathon. the Bucks finished second with the number 2 pick, right? But then you remember, oh, well, that's
Pick swap.
part of a pick swap. So that would go to the Atlanta Hawks. So that's where we are. What a start to the year.
I know that's right. Not the one I wanted. Not the one I want. It's a whole different energy if you just win that game against the Wizards, even if it's an ugly one. But to be able to say, like, hey, this is 3 that we're stacking. We know we didn't play well. We're moving on to the next. We have Charlotte. You go for it. But no, we're starting the clock back over again. We're starting to back over again. And there's only so many more times this clock can start back over before even numerically you're like, well, now you're really out of the picture.
It was funny when I walked into the building yesterday. They had the sign like right when you walk in through the tunnel that was there that just had days without incident. That was right there. And now we get to reset it to 0. We'll do it for today's show is 14-20 on the season.
So disappointing.
Who knows? Well, we still have to regroup here on what the vibes are going to be like tomorrow to preview a game for the Hornets. We're working on New Year's Day. We'll figure out what we're going to do for tomorrow, if we just preview the Hornets game or if Camille and I take some time here. But not the start to the calendar year that we were hoping for this Bucks team, who's now 14-20 on the season. And again, 10th worst record in all of the NBA right now from this Bucks team. Thanks as always for tuning in to today's show. As we mentioned, we'll preview what's coming up next for this team. They start the road trip as well, and we spent all the time talking about, well, it's the Kings, and now Nikola Jokic is out.
They probably talking about it's the Bucks. Like you can
right. I mean, it was the Wizards, and look what happened. But we'll start to preview the games coming up for you on next week's show. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. You get Locked On Bucks ad-free, plus members-only Discord access, and more. You can find the link to sign up for the club in the show notes of today's episode. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 national NBA YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make that your second listen, NBA Game Night on Locked On NBA. For Camille, I'm Justin. We'll talk with you guys once again tomorrow on Locked On Bucks.